Hello and welcome back to Kootenai and Beyond. My name is Brandon, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. Starting a new series of videos I'm going to call Rides and Thoughts. Hoping you'll enjoy and follow along as we take a little ride through town and discuss some things I think are of some importance. So today I have some chores to do. I have to go out shopping, get some groceries. I have to get a birthday present for a good buddy of mine. He's happily retiring, and I want to help him celebrate. To get him a card, something nice, send him off. I was riding through town here. I thought back to 2017. I moved here from up north, new city, new life. Same company, that didn't change, although it's a higher position now. Still drove my car everywhere at that time. Didn't even own a bike that fit me. It's funny, think about how much things have changed in not that long a time. And what's so interesting about this is that just driving around, these routes and their signage are not usually that obvious. That's the one of the big downsides about driving around everywhere. You miss all the small important details in the community. I honestly never would have known any of that, those wayfinding signs or infrastructure was even there. I was thinking, well, that happened to me. I wonder how often that happens around all over North America. Like, you know, biking advocates, they always talk about safe infrastructure and, you know, AAA routes and uh, guarded intersections and, European roundabouts and all those things. And all that stuff is great and it's all relevant. But they always seem to have a lot of trouble with the basics, the the things that you know really help introduce people to commuting by bike. I mean, think about it. If the average person, say a young adult, you know, maybe they're getting a part-time job or something while they're going to post-secondary, or maybe they're even just about to graduate and moving into the workforce full time. And their parents and their friends, family, legacy media, and the internet are all telling them the same thing, that it's difficult and dangerous and nearly impossible to commute by bike in most cities around North America. And if that's happening, why would that young adult put in any effort or even consideration into alternative means of transportation? I mean, really think about it. If everyone's telling you the same thing, why would you think anything different? I realized I managed to find this alternate way because it's who I am. I'm not an extremely extroverted person, but I am social. I do communicate with people. I crave information and knowledge. But a lot of people, in fact, I would argue most people are not like that, especially young people, especially these days. With everything, online and interconnected, people have gotten so used to being told what to think that their curiosity and their analytical and critical thinking skills are severely underdeveloped compared to other generations that came before them. I know that sounds strange coming from me, a millennial. Hey, I managed to actually find something good about boomers. How about that, huh? But maybe that's something that cycling advocates really need to put more effort into. You know, pushing curiosity. Like, I think a lot of people would be surprised that at how many options there are available in their own community. I mean, if you want the very first basic step into it, ask around, talk to people, look up YouTube videos that people have made in your local community. You might start noticing some of these things that you've missed while driving. Take this example. Northwestern Indianapolis, Indiana, United States. Major city, car centric. No one would expect there to be too many options for getting around. Zoom in, have your typical big, dense, modern suburb, and a little ways away, the Speedway uh, shopping center. Yes, that is actually its real name, right next to this funny Marion County West Division of Family Services. I'll hand it to the U.S. They might be big, boring, car-centric cities, but they do come up with some interesting building designs. Anyway, I digress. So I want to get from this random house, in this random neighborhood I picked, to the shopping center. According to Google Maps, it's about 5 minutes by car, probably a little longer with the traffic lights, but that's a good estimate. But it's only 9 minutes by bike, and you don't even have to ride on the main road. So what's going on down here? Well, let's zoom in. Side street, which connects to the Peoria East Rail Trail. Huh, how about that? It conveniently parallels a 4-lane road with a center, plus a center turning lane. You move all the way, go right through this business parking lot, which I'm sure they're pretty used to right now. And then, yeah, you do have to ride down the busy street for just a little bit, and then cross at the intersection, get right into this car-infested hellhole of a, hole of a shopping center. And yes, you're not imagining things. The parking lot area square footage is actually a larger footprint than the shopping center itself. Anyway, how about that though, huh? A rail trail in the middle of a car-infested city. Who would have thought? Well, it's not as uncommon as you might think. It took me just a couple of minutes to look around Indianapolis, which I've is a city I've looked at before. And interestingly enough, this is not an anomaly in Indianapolis. There are several different rail trails, greenways, uh, multi-use trails scattered all over the city. It's just a matter of looking around and finding them. But there could be residents who've lived here their entire lives, who've driven up one of the main stroads and then down the main thoroughfare and never even noticed that this trail was even here. And they might not be able to afford it. They might be struggling. They might be looking for ways to cut costs, but it would never occur to them that you could get from their home to the shopping center relatively safely and efficiently because they've been told their entire lives that it's North America. You just have to drive. And as another example, move up north to city of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Uh, just for reference, this is North Van up here. In the northwest, the Lionsgate Bridge, Stanley Park, downtown Vancouver core, and then Science World. So those are some of the more well-known um, landmarks there. But I brought up this map because this shows the different cycling routes that connect the different parts of Vancouver and Greater Vancouver. And there's several different types. We have the dark green solid lines, which are assessed as comfortable for most people. We have the green purple, or the green and purple dotted lines, which are assessed as being comfortable for some people. And then the yellow dotted lines, which are assessed as being comfortable for the least amount of people. So only the more hardcore of us out there. But unfortunately, what this map doesn't show is what sections are protected and which sections are just cycleways and which sections are just painted bike lanes. But the great thing about this map is that it highlights that over time, Greater Vancouver has developed quite a sophisticated network, and it's all interconnected, which is great. I really want to emphasize that. I think that's one of Vancouver's strongest points. But the fact that it's not all protected bike lanes, it puts off a lot of people, and but I don't think that's all based on personal experience. I think quite a bit of it has to do with what people hear from cycling advocates online. Um, you know, just the fact that it's not all protected or it's not all dedicated lanes automatically means most people are not going to be comfortable, or they're not going to feel safe. And I just want to take this opportunity to kind of push back against that assumption for a while. So I grew up in Vancouver. I grew up over on the North Shore. And so I didn't get out, into downtown or um, Broadway or uh, commercial drive areas that often. But now that my sister and her husband live down by Trout Lake, which is down here, whenever I visit, I park over on the North Shore and I ride across. So I've not just saying this based on like what I've been told. I've tried out a bunch of these different routes, some of them through the middle of the downtown core, sometimes the scenic routes. I've gone down through Cambie. I've gone through Great Northern Way, and of course Union Street. They all have their plus and minuses, but something that I've noticed that was really interesting is even with the routes that had mostly like bikeways, which are basically side streets and secondary streets with wayfinding signs, I didn't necessarily feel, less safe than a dedicated protected bike lane. I know that's probably like kind of a taboo thing to say, and I'm sure there's going to be some people out there who are a little pissy about me saying that, especially with the whole controversy down here in the West Broadway area. If you're not familiar, there was this whole development plan for this big long section of West Broadway, and they wanted bike lanes, dedicated bike lanes on it. But right along parallel, the whole way along West Broadway for many, many blocks is West 10th Avenue. And it's not just like, something they kind of threw together. They have roundabouts and they have guarded little intersections, and there's lots of cross streets that connect to West Broadway. And from the reports that I've seen and read about, uh, they estimate over 500,000 people use this route every year. That's a lot of people. But according to cycling advocates, there shouldn't be nearly that many people because this is just a cycleway. It's not a protected bike lane. So, like, I get it. Safety isn't the only thing. All of the commercial businesses and restaurants are right on West Broadway, and it is a bit of a pain to find a side street, go up it, find a bike lock your bike, and then walk to X business that you want to visit, and then do the reverse when you want to go back. I know it is a bit of a pain, but to me, it's really not the end of the world. If Vancouver was designed more like Toronto, where they would be zigzagging like freaking all over the place and it was super inefficient, I would totally be on board 100% with the dedicated bike lane on West Broadway. But With West 10th being here and it being what it is, I just think there's more important things to worry about. Another point I wanted to make is to highlight some of the distinct advantages that cyclists and bike commuters have that I feel are often overlooked by a lot of people. I mean, take crossing an intersection, for example. I'm just talking your basic four-way. If if you're on a bike, most people uh, think, you know, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Well, if you want to make a left-hand turn, you have to cross the intersection once, then you have to wait on the other side, maybe press the bag button, wait for the light to change, and then cross the intersection again and continue on your way. Well, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. If it's faster and more convenient, it's absolutely fine to stop as soon as you get to the intersection, dismount your bike, and walk your bike across uh, on what would be the wrong side for a cyclist or a car. But funny, funny enough, the correct side for a pedestrian. And that's the great thing about cycling. You can just dismount your bike and instantly you are no longer a vehicle. Now you are a pedestrian. Another great thing, and this is also definitely overlooked, especially when anyone's discussing, modern suburbs and, urban sprawl and things like that. Looking at it from Google Maps, it's not always what it seems. I mean, yes, often it is, but not all the time. You're getting a very high level view. But the one thing that is often overlooked is if you go down into the street view, or even if you go and like ride your bike or walk through some of these places, there are actually cycling and pedestrian cut throughs between a lot of these streets. Not always in the most modern neighborhoods, I grant you, but in a lot of places, especially near public services like schools, hospitals, parks, places like that, there are ways to get between streets. And that isn't highlighted nearly enough, but it is a thing. And I think people forget about that. So they just think, oh, well, it's going to take forever to get anywhere. So I'll just hop in the car and just eat the cost of gas and maintenance. But you might not have to do that. Maybe you just need to do a little bit of investigating or talk to your neighbors. Uh, you might be surprised. And then last point, and I've mentioned this briefly already, but cycling on secondary streets, side streets, um, just pointing out that, you know, if you haven't done it before, you'd probably never know that they're usually quieter than you might expect. Maybe not at all times of the day, but at certain times of the day, they can be. And again, it might just take a little bit of investigating, maybe talking to, some people who live around there, talking to friends, family. Again, I just think you'd be surprised. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in and watching another video on the channel here, Kootenai and Beyond. Really appreciate all your comments and continued support. I also wanted to make a shout out right here that this is a special occasion because recently the channel surpassed 100 subscribers, which is just awesome. Love it. Love all the people that are dedicated and interested in seeing more. And finally, if you're interested in knowing more about the channel, interested in sources, and or interested in the Veemo, everything is down in the description below. Also wanted to give a reminder again, I am a member of Envo's ambassador program. So if you are interested in purchasing a Veemo and you use my code, I get a commission which helps supports the channel, and you get 5% off your purchase. Thanks again, and see you next time.